Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the live stream discussing the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update. So hello and thank you for tuning in this evening to our live stream. We're going to be here for an hour between 5 and 6 o'clock. We're going to be talking about the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update. Hope you're all having a lovely Sunday. Thank you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. I see we've got a couple of people with us already. So we've got Nick Willis with us saying, hey Gav. So hi Nick, thanks for tuning in this afternoon. And we've also got Shiram with us saying, evening Gavin. So good evening Shiram, thank you for tuning in this afternoon to our live stream. So as I say, we're going to be here for around an hour and we're going to be talking about the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update. What did you think to it? It was another real epic, I think. So it lasted for around an hour, didn't it? Just over an hour. And had lots of interesting analogues and reanalysis and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I thought it went quite well. Again, it's certainly turning out to be quite an interesting season of winter updates, I think, this year. So, I'm not sure I've got a particular trend, though, with these updates. I suppose if there is a trend, I don't know what you think through the chat. So, I suppose if there is a trend, if anything, it's possibly mild and wet overall. But with kind of every week, there seems to be a minority option with very cold winters showing up. So today, for example, we even had 46, 47, that extraordinarily cold and snowy winter was within the analogues package. So although the analogues themselves don't appear to be overly cold this year at the moment, and it might change as we get further into the updates, at the moment the analogues themselves don't appear to be particularly cold, but regularly we are getting sort of a few very cold winters showing up within the package. So that makes it quite a confusing year. I'm not sure we've ever had that really. So if it doesn't become clearer, obviously by the time we get through to the end of November, it is going to get a little bit on the confusing side, I think, when I have to come and create the forecast itself. But let me know what you think through the live chat. The live chat is enabled, of course, so if you want to comment or ask questions, then you can do that. We have also got Super Chat enabled, so if you want your comment or question to sort of stand out, then yeah, that's the way you can do it. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through the chat and pick out as many comments and questions as I can, but it might get missed. Your comment or question might get missed, so if I can't answer it, then very sorry about that. You will be able to ask it again, of course, next week, because we're going to be doing these every week, as I said, right way through until we release a winter forecast on the 1st of December. So, but if you want your comment to stand out, that's how to do it. You can super chat. Right, let's have a look at a few of these questions and comments that we've got in already then. We have 35 people watching us at the moment, so hello, and a big thank you to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much, up to 39. Now, hope you're all having a lovely Sunday. So we've got Freddie Walker with us, saying the confusing thing about the background signals and most of the long range are complete opposites. That's true, Freddie. Yeah. So quite a few of the things we're looking at this season are sort of pointing us in a colder direction, perhaps. Although, again, with the analogues, it is a mixed bag, and there seems to be like a split between the analogues that are generally quite mild and wet for the winter, and then a few interspersed that are pointing to a very cold winter. But definitely the long-range modelling appears to be going in a very mild and wet and zonal sort of direction. I do wonder potentially whether the long-range models kind of tend to show a little bit current weather conditions and try to extend that out over an extended period. So if we're in a very mild and wet sort of scenario, which we are at the moment, it's not particularly mild actually, but it is very wet, it is very Atlantic driven, could be they're being influenced by that. But they all seem to be picking up on the same thing, which is interesting. In a moment, I'm going to show you the Beijing Climate Centre from last month and from this month. So I'll show you that in around 5 or 10 minutes' time. You'll get to see what Beijing Climate Centre was forecasting last month. Remember, the Beijing Climate Centre went offline for a couple of weeks, so it wasn't able to feature the Beijing Climate Centre in last month's first Season 1 roundup for winter of 2019-2020. So I'll bring you up to date with that in a moment, and we will have a look then at this month's Beijing Climate Centre update as well. We've got Sunny with us saying hi. So hi Sunny, thanks so much for tuning in on this sunny afternoon. My friend, hope you're having a nice Sunday. We've also got Alexander with us saying hi Gal. So hi Alexander, thank you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. And Paul Stanya is with us as well saying hi Gal, good to hear from you again. Well, thank you so much Paul, that's very kind of you, and thanks for tuning in to our live stream discussing the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update. We've also got Graham Doolan with us as well, saying evening Gav, and a bit of an umbrella sign, so I think Graham probably has had quite a wettish day. So good evening Graham, thank you for tuning in to our live stream. We're up to 52 people watching us now, so thank you so much to all of you for tuning in. Please hit the like button and let us know that you are enjoying our live stream. And yeah, thank you so much everybody for tuning in and for liking and for commenting. Alpha Espy is with us saying hi Gav. So hi Alpha, thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday evening. And Mark Kanish is with us and asking, hi Gavin, is it true even if a models show like Met Office say mild winter for this winter, it doesn't always mean they're right? Like in 2009 into 2010, the UK Met Office said a mild winter. So that's true actually Mark, yes, the UK Met did forecast a milder than average winter for 09-10. And we know we finished up actually with a cold winter. So, yeah, remember, any long-range forecast, wherever it comes from, is going to be fraught with danger. The standard forecasting time frame is like 5 to 7 days. That's kind of like the maximum to be reliable. Up to 10 days sometimes in kind of a zonal scenario. If you're in a zonal scenario, you can often forecast quite reliably up to around 10 days time. Beyond that though, and again, if you're in a kind of a blocked pattern, then the reliable time frame will come down much lower. Your reliable time frame is kind of only 2 or 3 days sometimes when you've got northern blocking. But anything beyond sort of 5, 7, 10 days is going to be fraught with danger. Seasonal long-range forecasting is very much in its infancy. It's all experimental. So I think long-range forecasting has got a little bit better over the years that we know the various signals, especially for winter actually, interestingly. We know the signals for winter that are important drivers like ENSO, like the QBO, and that kind of thing, sea surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic. So I think got a little bit better at forecasting long range, but again, anything over a few days really is fraught with a big health warning. Alexander is asking, hi Gal, I saw an article saying that Britain could face the coldest winter since 1963. Do you think there is a possibility of this actually happening? Alexander, I would say any headline that you see talking about the coldest winter since 63 or whatever time frame they put in, sometimes it's 47, sometimes it will be the coldest winter for 100 years, sometimes it will be the coldest winter ever, which would be even colder than the winter of 1740, which was a ferociously cold winter, by the way. Any headline that you see talking about the coldest winter since such and such a date is going to be, it's for fun really, it's for the newspaper to be able to sell their newspaper, but it's very unlikely that we will have the coldest winter since 1963, and it is I wouldn't say it's totally off the cards that we would have a colder winter than 1963, because when it comes to weather, nothing is off the cards. But I mean, the winter of 1963 was the coldest winter since 1740, and if we was to beat it, then it would be extremely shocking. I've always said actually that if we did have a winter like 63 or 47, we probably wouldn't see it coming. Actually, we would probably see a cold winter, yes, there to pick out an increased chance of a cold winter, but I think when you go to those very extreme sort of seasons, it is very, very difficult actually to be able to pick those out in advance. Of course, you've got the usual suspects who are always forecasting the coldest winter for 100 years and whatnot. So they would be right, but then again, it's just like a stop clock is right twice a day. But really, I think if we had a winter like 63, we probably wouldn't really see it coming. Paul James is with us saying hi, Dan. So hi, Paul. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon or this evening. Got 68 people watching us now. So hello and a big thank you to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Please hit the like button and let us know that you are enjoying our live stream. Shiram is with us saying, hello going, seems like a very long time we had cold sea surface temperature anomalies off Alaska. Do you know when that last happened? We're going to have a look at this actually in a subsequent winter update. I'm not sure when it will be, Shiram, but we will have a look at those sea surface temperature anomalies in the northern Pacific. I think 2017 went a little bit cold with the sea surface temperature anomalies up there in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. So probably 2017. Before that, though, you probably have to go back to 2012, 2013 for the last time it was genuinely very cold up in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. It does appear that we have shifted into the warm PDO, the warm Pacific Decadal Oscillation. So to explain that, the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans go through warmer and cooler phases that tend to last over sort of 20 to 30 year time frames. And we was in the cold phase of the PDO through the 1990s and early 2000s and into the early part of this decade. But it seems since around 2014, 2015, we've shifted into the warm PDO. And so I think we expect most years now over the next few years to be quite warm up there in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. But there will be years that deviate, of course, whenever you're in these warm and cold phases of the PDO and the AMO, the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. There will be years that deviate to do something a little bit different. But I would suspect we expect a lot of the years to be quite warm in the northern Pacific Ocean for the next few years. At the same time, the Atlantic Ocean will probably be going into its cold phase. So that'll be quite interesting. When we get into the 2020s, I think we will tend to see the Atlantic looking rather cold. Jaris is with us saying, good evening, Gav, from the Czech Republic. Well, thank you so much, Jaris, for tuning in. Right, so we've got 74 people with us. We'll have a look at the Beijing Climate Centre, Jaris. So we're going to do a bit of screen sharing next. Now what I'm going to do with this is go to the Streamlabs software. I'm going to turn off the image. So there we go. That should be showing a black screen now. And then I'm going to turn on display capture. So that should now be screen sharing. So this is what Beijing Climate Centre was showing last month when we was unable to bring you the Beijing Climate Centre update in the first winter 2019-2020 seasonal model roundup because Beijing Climate Centre went offline for a couple of weeks, very helpfully just at the time when we was going to do that video. So this is what it was showing last month anyway in terms of the 500 millibar height anomaly from the Beijing Climate Centre for winter of 2019-2020. So it's always a bit of a job to make us out actually on this. We're just there. You can see where I'm pointing with the cursor. We're just there on the very edges of the map. Very often with these long range charts we do find ourselves perched kind of on the very edge of the map and a little bit difficult to make us out. But that's where we are. This is showing generally an Atlantic-driven sort of pattern. It was going for above average heights, high pressure within the 500 millibar flow to be sitting to the south of us, below average heights out in the North Atlantic. So you can envisage it's going for a rather westerly, sort of setup with low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. No particular sign of northern blocking either, no particular area of high pressure to the north. So just rather westerly with the 500 millibar height anomaly last month. It's a little bit easier to see. This is for 200 millibar high anomaly. So it's a little bit easier to make us out on this. So again, it's just looking at a slightly different area in the atmosphere, but again, it looks rather Atlantic driven, or it was looking rather Atlantic driven with the Beijing Climate Centre last month. So it was going for low pressure to be around Greenland and Iceland, with high pressure, excuse me, tending to be centred close towards Spain. So again, you can see that we're probably most likely to be bringing in a westerly sort of flow. It doesn't look overly unsettled. It doesn't look like a washout of a winter. We're not stuck under a deep trough of low pressure, but it certainly looks rather westerly with low pressure sitting around Greenland, and just in line with a lot of the model output, actually, rather westerly, rather mild, and potentially at times at least quite unsettled. That's what Beijing Climate Centre was showing last month. Now I'm going to show you the very latest update from Beijing Climate Centre. Of course, all these live models that we're featuring at the moment in individual videos, it'll all be brought together when we do the second season model roundup for the coming winter, and that's going to be on the last Saturday of the month. I think it'll be Saturday the 26th. So we'll bring it all together then, and you'll be able to form a true consensus. But I did want to feature this in the live stream today. So this is what the 500 millibar height anomaly looks like from the Beijing Climate Centre for the winter of 2019-2020. And that's it. So it's going rather westerly, but it has increased the heights over Greenland. You'll see there's much more of a high pressure signal there, above average heights, extrapolating to high pressure, much higher heights over Greenland compared to what we had last month. There's last month's. Notice the heights are quite low, actually. They're about average, or maybe a little bit on the low side. This month, the heights have definitely been increased over Greenland and generally over the northern latitudes too. So it is, the Beijing Climate Centre model is seeing a bit of blocking, but at the same time, it's also going for quite a strong ridge through the central Atlantic. So you can see we've got above average heights down here across southeastern parts of America. And that extends across the Atlantic into Spain as well. So that's just a very strong ridge through the central part of the Atlantic Ocean, a strong Azores high. And then in between, we've got some low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic, presumably with quite a strong jet stream between these two ridges. I think we've got quite a strong jet stream coming in here from the Atlantic. So it looks more unsettled, actually, in terms of the 500 millibar height only for this winter. Still looks Atlantic driven, still looks westerly. The only change is that it has raised the heights over Greenland. If I show you the 200 millibar height anomaly, that's how it's looking. So in that view, you don't get as clear a signal of the above average heights over Greenland. You can see this ridge, though, extending again from the southeastern part of the states, southern parts of America, through the Atlantic and over to Spain. So again, this is a strong Azores high that's ridging through the Atlantic into Spain. Below average heights south of Greenland, that sets us up for these westerly winds. And so, again, it looks rather westerly. But if you come back to a 500 millibar height anomaly, there is the caveat that we have got increased signals of higher pressure sitting over Greenland compared to what we had last month. I think you can clearly see that the heights have been raised for this winter by the Beijing Climate Centre model around Greenland and generally across the northern sort of latitudes as well. But it doesn't do us any good to get cold, because actually the way it's all lined up with the ridge through the Azores and into Spain and low pressure and quite a strong jet stream to the north of it, it keeps us on the mild side. It keeps us bringing in pretty strong zonal flows and areas of low pressure. But anyway, that's brought you up to date with the Beijing Climate Centre. So I'm going to turn off the screen capture now. So I have to get rid of display capture. There we go, and turn on the image, and we should be back to the image once again. And then I'm going to go back to YouTube and see what you've made of that. So got 85 people watching while I've been doing that. So hello and thank you all for tuning in on this Sunday evening. I think we say Sunday evening now, it's 20 past 5. So thank you so much all of you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Please hit the like button and let us know that you are enjoying this live stream. Right, so we've got Paul James saying hi, Gav. So hi, Paul. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also got Sharon with us. We talked about that, the season temperature anomalies of Alaska. So Paul Stania is saying could be set up for a famous flip in the charts, marked cold Ludder flip. And it has happened in the past, Paul, hasn't it? But everything has pointed in one direction. I mean, all of a sudden, often in the last update, in the last season, one round, all of a sudden everything gets turned on its head. So it won't be the first time that's happened. We shall see, I'm sure. We've got Paul Stania, done that, of course. We've got Iceman saying hello, Gav. So, hi, Iceman. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon and this evening. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday. My friend Jaris is telling us, if I can go back up through the chat. So as I'm doing this, I'm scrolling down looking at your comments, but what often happens as I scroll down, it kind of pulls down to the last comment. I mean, I've got to move it back up again to get back to where I was, so it can get a little bit fraught on my end as I'm going through the live chat. So Jaris is telling us that today in Central Europe it went over 26 degrees, which is around 80 Fahrenheit, of course, was very nice and sunny. So, yeah, it sounds like things are really quite warm over there on the continent then, Jaris. Paul Miller is saying, hi, Gav, how confident do you think about CFSV2 Cold Xmas? So, yes, we did release the second Christmas update, written update at gavsweathers.com this afternoon. This one looks cold. Not confident at all, Paul, about that, I have to say. It's just a fun. It's kind of just to set up the fact that we're going to be doing Christmas updates, video updates from the 1st of November. We always start the Christmas countdown with the Christmas video updates on the first day of November, and then we do regular Christmas updates going right way through to Christmas using the CFS, and then eventually when we get close to the time frame we use the GFS. So it's just to set that up, really, get the page up and running at gavsweathers.com, and to tell everybody that the Christmas updates are coming. So I wouldn't be at all confident about that. It's just for fun. But it's a big change on last week, because last week it was showing a mild Christmas, this week showing a colder Christmas. But again, I wouldn't have any sort of confidence in that at all, really. We've got Cherry Daly saying, hi Gav, if the ENSO region goes back into El Nino, how many winters have there been that have had El Nino to neutral and then back to Nino again? Good question, Cherry, and that is something that we'll be discussing towards the end of the winter updates. Actually, we'll do an ENSO focused winter update probably towards the end of November. It'll be one of the last updates that we do, I would have thought. So we'll have a good look at that then. Would be a relatively unusual and uncommon scenario, but I'm sure it has happened before. Most things, when it comes to the weather, have happened before. So, all will be revealed on that one. I don't really want to say any more on that because I haven't actually looked at the data for that yet. But all will be revealed, and we shall see when we get to probably update number 11, 12 or 13. It'll be sometime in November, one of the final updates where we do a bit of an ENSO special. We've got 92 people with us this afternoon, so hello and thank you to all of you for tuning in on your Sunday evening. Don't forget to hit the like button, and thank you so much for getting involved and supporting the live stream. I'm going to be here until 6 o'clock when I'll have to wrap up the live stream and go off and write the written version for the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update. So if you're waiting for that, if you wait to have a read of that, it will be posted on gavsweathers.com after 8 o'clock this evening. There's a lot for me to write with that one, so it's going to take me a little time to get to it. We've got David McBride with us saying, hi Gav, could the confusion come from not modelling things like the ground solar minimum with any accuracy, and how that could affect the modelling months in advance. I'm not sure, David, whether that would be it. I suspect that what is going on with a lot of the long-range models, they're probably defaulting to the default setup, which is westerly and zonal. And as I said at the start of the stream, I think a lot of these long-range models sort of show what the conditions are now at the time when they generate the output, if you see what I mean. So and then they tend to try and run on with that pattern as long as they can. So if we was to flip into a cold northern blocking type pattern, then a lot of the long-range models will probably flip and go into a cold northern blocking type pattern and try to extend that out for an extended period. I think that does go on a little bit with these longer range models, but they do sometimes, they are useful tools as well. They do often get the right signals. So we shall see. Anyway, we're going to do the second winter 2019-2020 seasonal model roundup at the that will be at the end of the month, Saturday the 26th, I think that is, of October. So we'll get all of the long-range models together then, and we'll see what they're all showing. I don't think it will be overly surprising, though, if a lot of them are going for mild and zonal. Nearly 100 people tuning in to our live stream this afternoon, 98. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and I hope you're enjoying the live stream. And I hope you enjoyed the 7th winter update as well. I thought it was a pretty good update, so I hope you all enjoyed it. Thrift is with us saying, I get the news I need from Gav's weather videos. Well, that's very kind of you, Thrift. Thank you so much for saying that and for doing that. So, as I keep saying, as long as people enjoy the videos and find them useful and informative, then I'm happy to keep doing them. So, if everybody is enjoying the videos and finding them useful, then as long as they want us, we're happy to keep doing them. Okay is saying long range forecast is based on little but bias and maybe political. Also, think this is about long range modelling. Have real basis in reality, the models that are on the computer. So it's a point of view. I wouldn't say they're particularly politically biased with long range models, but they are flawed, of course. Any long-range model output is going to have inherent flaws within it, just due to the limitations within that model. Toby Scott is with us saying, evening Gav, great videos and interesting Xmas updates. So yes, Toby, thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday evening. I thought the second Christmas update was quite interesting as well. Remember, it is just for fun. It's just to set up the Christmas updates and tell everyone that the video Christmas countdown will be starting in November. But we keep an eye on it. We may find that we get a trend towards something a little bit colder for this Christmas. It's been a very long time since we had a cold Christmas. Last cold Christmas was 2010. We normally get a couple a decade, so I would say we are due a cold Christmas before too much longer. But then again, you do get decades that deviate. In the 1980s, we only had one cold Christmas, I think, which was 1981. Otherwise, the rest of that decade, despite the cold winters that we had through the middle of the 1980s, there's a trilogy of cold winters, 84, 85, 85, 86, 86, 87. And they were really cold winters as well, but despite that, all of the Decembers and Christmases were generally quite mild. So strange things can happen. It's possible that we're only going to have that one cold Christmas in 2010. This decade, but we shall see. We are due a colder and more seasonable Christmas before too much longer, I think. Angie Denton is with us saying, hi Gav, I watched all your winter updates and felt there were strong signals for late winter to be cold. What do you think? I think that possibly is there as well, Angie. Yes, so I think a lot of these winter updates with the analogues are pointing towards a milder, wetter, more Atlantic-driven earlier winter, December, possibly January, and then it gradually starts. We gradually start to see that blocking signal increasing when we get to February, and particularly, interestingly, for March, out of all of the months that we look at, December, January, February, March this year appears to be the one that could be quite cold. So, yes, I agree. I think there is that idea within a lot of the analogues at the moment as well. And just generally quite unsettled winters. I think that's coming through quite strongly with the analogues at the moment as well. Quite wet, quite unsettled, and possibly something colder later. Craig is with us, I hope, for a cold winter. So I think a lot of people who are watching these videos do, Craig. I don't think you're alone on that, my friend. And thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday evening. I hope you're enjoying the live stream. So we've also got Chris Clifford with us. Do you see any signs of cold weather this winter, as we haven't got much hope, given the fact there is a warming trend in the North America Atlantic? Could this winter be stormy like winter of 2013? So I think, Chris, what you're talking about is that warmer than average area sea surface temperature anomalies in the northeastern Pacific Ocean, kind of close to Alaska, and that's something that we did have in the winter of 2013-14 that helped drive the jet stream on a very northwest southeast alignment across the United States, pulled in lots of very cold air into North America. But as that cold air with the jet stream spilled out into the Atlantic, it formed cyclogenesis as it ran over the warm ocean, and that then sent us spiraling into an incredibly wet and stormy winter, the winter of 2013-14. It's possible that we could get a repeat of that, but to be honest, I would be a little bit surprised if we went to those depths of storminess and cyclogenesis, purely due to the fact that the Atlantic is a little bit different this year with the sea surface temperature anomaly profile, especially as it starts getting colder with those sea surface temperature anomalies around Newfoundland and possibly down the eastern coast of America. Also, that was a solar maximum winter. 2013-14 was a solar maximum winter, albeit it was a very weak solar maximum, but it was the maximum of this solar cycle that was occurring in winter of 2013-14, whereas we're at solar minimum now, so that should have a bit of a dampening effect on the jet stream. So there are a lot of differences between 2013-14. We haven't seen that winter showing up a great deal within our analogues, so I would be surprised if we went to those sort of depths of storminess, even with that warmer than average area of sea surface temperature anomalies in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. But again, the weather is always finding ways of surprising us, so I could be wrong on that. Maybe we will go into a very stormy 2013-14 type winter. But to be honest, I would be quite surprised if we did. Remember, although the last few winters with that warmer than average area of sea surface temperature anomalies in the northeastern Pacific has been associated with milder weather, I mean, it's basically the warm PDO, the warm Pacific Decadal Oscillation. The last time it was in the warm PDO was, I think, through the 1970s and 1980s, and I mean, we had a fair share of cold winters through particularly the 1980s, but also late in the 1970s as well. So I don't think it sort of rules out the chance of getting a cold winter. It perhaps reduces it a little bit, but there are always other factors at work. There's no one factor that is particularly important for us. So at some point, even with that warmer than average area sea surface temperature anomalies in the North Pacific, which will be a semi-permanent feature, I think, for the next couple of decades, but even with that, we will still get individual winters that do something different and that are colder. So every winter is different and unique in its own terms. We've still got 96 people with us, so thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Please hit the like button and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream. And thanks, everyone, for getting involved in the chat and in the discussion. Alpha SB is saying, I'm going to guess this winter will be a mix of cold and mild. So possibly, Alpha, yeah, a traditional sort of neither one thing nor another type winter. We do get quite a few of those, actually, more than people might think. So, cold spells and mild spells cancelling one another out. City Andy is asking, afternoon Gavin, what do you think about the deep freeze engulfing the USA? Well, haven't had a look at any data for that today, Andy, but I did see the other day that tremendous drop in temperature that occurred in Denver, in Colorado. It's absolutely incredible. They went from around 26 degrees, around 80 Fahrenheit, to sub-zero, to around maximums of -3 or something within like 24 hours, and something like a 10 to 20 degree temperature drop in something like 3 hours. Absolutely incredible, and it just goes to show you what can happen when you live in a continental climate. Of course, our climate is excuse me, is invariably governed by the Atlantic, by the ocean that sits next to us, or we sit next to the ocean, and that means we have a very, very temperate and mild climate. It often doesn't seem like it, but we do have one of the more temperate climates in the world. And what we saw in America, in Denver, the other day, that really does tell you how extreme things can get when you live in a continental climate. It'll be interesting whether these cold plunges going down into the States are, if we get quite a few of those, if that's something that we're going to see a little bit of over the next few weeks. A cold winter in America, perhaps, but we shall see. Keith Harris is with us saying, greetings from Southend-on-Sea. So thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Keith, I hope you're enjoying our live stream, and thank you so much for being with us. Mr. Burns is with us. Hi, Gav. It's been grey and raining all afternoon here, but now it's brightened up, and it's currently sunny, but also raining at the same time. Sounds like you've got a classic mix of weather there, Mr. Burns. It's been pretty wet here, actually, this morning, but it's cleared up this afternoon. Yep, the sun's out now, and it's quite a nice end to the day. We're going to have more rain tomorrow, though. Another deluge is coming up from France, I'm afraid, tomorrow. Possibly a few hints of going towards higher pressure in around 10 days' time. So maybe the last week of the month could do something a little bit dry. And I suspect that will be the focus, actually, on the videos over the next few days when we do the week to 10-day video updates from tomorrow. So Mark Nish saying, does feel like it's gone coldish going where I am in the Wirral near Liverpool, northwest England. Have had to put 2 jumpers on today. So freshening up, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a bit chilly tonight. And I say with tomorrow's deluge, it is going to be a pretty cold, wet day, I think, tomorrow. Overall, the temperature for this October is very close to average. But obviously, we are going into it is turning into a very wet October. Indeed, it's been a long time since we had a very wet October. We have to go back quite a few years. So will be interesting to see what happens there. Edward Carney is saying, I heard recently, Gav, that Arctic ice melt could pave way to colder temps in lower mid-latitude climes. Is that associated with southern stratospheric warming pushing cold air out of the pole, do you think? Southern stratospheric warming setting up northern blocking? Possibly, Edward. I think that's something that's in its infancy. It's something that's caught on only in the last few years. I think there needs to be a lot more research to see about this possible connection between Arctic sea ice melt and possibly setting up northern blocking later in the winter. There was a paper that was released a month or so back that actually said there is no connection between Arctic sea ice melt and winter blocking, that there's no connection. I do still show what's happening in the Arctic in the winter updates, in the early winter updates, but it's in its infancy. I don't think it's greatly understood what the connections and the drivers are with that. So possibly that's the connection, but something that needs a lot more research, I think. As I say, it's something that has only been talked about recently over the past few years and isn't all that greatly well understood. Chair Wood is with us. Hi, Gav. Any updates on the effects of the SSW that occurred in the Southern Hemisphere for winter? Haven't had a chance to look at that, Chair. So, no, I don't know whether that's going to have any impacts on our weather up in the Northern Hemisphere. With all of the other updates I've been doing, I just haven't had time to look into that. So, soon as I get a bit of time, I will see if that very dramatic southern stratospheric warming that occurred in the southern hemisphere over the South Pole, whether that could have any impacts on the northern hemisphere. Adam Blunsdon is with us, saying hi, Gav. Sorry I'm late. My birthday is next week on Saturday. Well, happy birthday for next Saturday, Adam. Have a lovely time, and happy birthday for next Saturday. I've got a birthday coming up very soon as well, actually. Graham Doolan is with us, saying, when I check back over the last 40 years, it appears our harshest winters happen 2 years running. However, the gap widens between each of the phases of harsh winters: 81, 82, 86, 87, 95, 96, 09, 10. That's very interesting, Graham. So if you've got any research on that, then you can email it to me at gavslevis@gmail.com, and I'd love to take a look at that. We've got Nice Boy with us, saying, let's see if I can go back up to the chat. Only problem with this, again, as I explained, I'm scrolling through the live chat as I'm doing it, and it does tend to pull down to the last comment, so then I'm going to scroll back upwards again. I'm running behind with the comments as well, so if I can't get through to all of you, then I'm really sorry about that. Again, you can ask your question next week. We're going to be doing these live streams every week until winter forecast on the 1st of December. So if I miss anybody out, or I just haven't got time, I run out of time to get through all of the comments, then I'm really sorry to anybody that doesn't get their comment or question answered. You can super chat; it will highlight the comment. But otherwise, it's just a case of whether I see it as I'm scrolling through the chat. So, Nice Boy is with us, saying, can you give us your view on the winter predictions that the newspapers have posted? We've talked about that earlier in the live stream. So anything that you see in the newspapers, generally take a huge pinch of salt with it, huge health warning. They're interested in selling their papers. Often there is very little, very little substance, very little science sort of backing up backing that up. So just take it all with a huge pinch of salt, except what we had, when was it? It was about a month ago. There was some headlines, some interest about a study saying we could have a cold winter. Based from, I think it came from the University of London or London University, something like that. That was a little bit more scientific, those headlines. I think the headlines were a bit over the top, but it was actually based on science. But generally, what you read in the newspapers doesn't have a great deal of scientific, doesn't have a great deal of scientific basis backing it up. BC Wood, Gav, what's the most interesting weather you have experienced abroad? That's an interesting question. A few years ago, when I was a child, we went to Italy on holiday, and we was up in a mountain range. The hotel that we was put in was right at the top of a mountain. It was in Sorrento, in Italy, actually, and it was around September, so it was late in the summer. And there was tremendous thunderstorms that seemed to get trapped within this mountain range. So it rained a lot when we was on this holiday in Sorrento. But the storms were pretty exciting. There was some very intense lightning, and a couple of nights I remember we was having dinner in the dining area, and the lights were put off by the lightning. So that's how bad the storms were. So, yeah, probably Sorrento sometime in the late 1980s. Daniel Jackson is saying, hi, Gav. So, hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Please smash the like button and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream, my friend. iTech is asking, are we expecting a cold winter this year? Well, that's what we're trying to answer through the winter updates, iTech. So I'll let you know on the 1st of December when we release the winter forecast, of course. So we've got Mark F. Hello, Gav. Interesting winter update this one. So, yeah, I felt this one was quite an interesting one, Mark. Thank you so much for tuning in to our live stream. We're going to be here for another 15 minutes, and then I'm going to go off and write up the written version of the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update. I'm going to scroll down through the chat. I'm running behind with this quite badly, so I'll answer as many questions as I can before we wrap things up in around 15 minutes' time. So we've got winter weather info. I think the tripod signature is getting to a better state for cold. Don't you think so? So possibly we are starting to see signs of the sea surface temperature anomalies beginning to go colder around Newfoundland and in that part of the North Atlantic. It's still relatively warm to the south of Greenland as well. The tropics have cooled down a little bit because of all the churn that's been created by all of the storms and hurricanes that we've had running through the tropical Atlantic over the past month or so. So the tropics aren't as warm as they were 2 or 3 months back. Yeah, I think the area to focus on and keep an eye on is around Newfoundland and possibly down that eastern seaboard of America. If things start going colder there, could just be seeing the first signs of that. If things start going a bit colder there, then that could be a sign that the tripole is beginning to re-emerge. We shall see. Global Weather Updates is with us, saying, hey Gab, how are you, my friend? Well, I'm fine, thank you, Global Weather Updates, and thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday evening. A little bit tired with all of the updates, but otherwise, well, I hope you're okay as well, my friend. Chelsea Bill is asking if it could be an Ensembles watch, so I wouldn't have thought so, not in the immediate future. I think we're a bit snowed under, if you pardon the pun, with updates at the moment. Ensembles watch tends to be something that we do in the winter, when getting into winter itself. So watch out for Ensembles watches coming back. And I might live stream an Ensembles watch as well at some point through the winter. Watch out for Ensembles watch reappearing perhaps at some point through the winter. So I'm being asked by Hushafi, is asking, how did you start the weather hobby? So just something that I've always been interested in, really, ever since I was a small child. Always been interested in the weather, watching BBC forecasts, of course, and then going online and learning about the weather through observing charts. Of course, when I was younger, I recorded the weather as well. So just observing, and the interest gradually grew. But yeah, I've always been very interested in weather right since I was a small child. I had lots of cold winters in the 1980s when I was a child, and I think that's what set me off, really. Lots of snowy, cold, frozen winters through the early and the middle of the 1980s. Paul Miller is asking, are we still on course for wettest October for years? I think so, Paul. I think this is going to be a very wet October. Can't yet say how wet it's going to be, of course, because it's still only like the middle of the month, but certainly we are running significantly wetter than average, at least for England and Wales rainfall, up to the middle of October. We're going to have more rain to come. We may get some higher pressure as we get through to the final week of the month, but I think this is probably going to be the wettest October since 2012, maybe wetter than that. It might be wettest October since 2004 or even 2000. We shall see at the end of the month how wet we come in, but it's definitely going to be a wetter than average October. I think there's no question about that for England and Wales. I don't think it's been as wet though up across Scotland, interestingly. So let's see if I do one or two more. So Mark F is saying, I think it's 50-50 at the moment for a cold winter. So too much uncertainty at the moment. So yeah, it's possibly rather 50-50. So I think overall, the analogues, if we take them all together up to this, well, it's now just past halfway, actually, with the winter updates. We have gone past the halfway point. If we take them all together, we possibly are favouring, with the analogues, I think, a milder, wetter winter. But again, there's this significant minority every week of analogues that are showing something a lot colder. Like today, in today's update, we actually saw 46, 47 showing up. So the analogues, if we put them all together, possibly favour a milder, wetter winter at the moment, but with a minority option. Lulu is saying, hello Gav, I love this channel. So thank you so much, Lulu, for that, and thank you for tuning in to our live stream on this Sunday evening. That's very, very kind of you to say that. Wayne Bingham, hi Gav, appreciate the updates. Love your hard work. Do keep up the good work, buddy. From Walsall in the West Midlands. Well, thank you so much, Wayne, for saying that. That's really kind. That's that really is very kind indeed. So thank you so much for saying that. And thank you everybody actually for all of the lovely comments that I get. It really is very special that all of you are so kind and so nice to me. So thank you for saying that, Wayne. Thank you so much. So let's scroll down. We've got Mr. Burns. I think we will get a mild and stormy winter like 2013-14. Well, it's possible, Mr. Burns. I'll be surprised if we go to those to that level of storminess, to that depth of it. But again, everybody's forecasts are as valid and as relevant as anybody else's. So if that's what you think is going to happen, then we shall see. You may well be right about that. Time, of course, will tell. I'm going to be here for another 10 minutes. We've got 98 people watching us this afternoon. So, again, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday evening. It really is tremendously kind of you all to tune in and stick with the live streams and stick with all of the long-range updates. So, thank you so much, all of you. I'm going to be here for another 10 minutes. I'm going to wrap the stream up and I'll go off and do a written version of the the 7th winter 2019-2020 update. So, have a look at one or two more. We've got Greek nationalists with us. How the winter in the south of Europe. So, not sure about that at the moment. We're focusing primarily for now on sort of the UK's weather and generally the northwest of Europe, Ireland, UK, those sort of areas. When we release a forecast, we will be able to point out a few possibilities for other parts of Europe due to the broad setup that we're expecting. So when we release forecast on the 1st of December, then we may be able to pinpoint a few sort of more widespread areas across Europe and things to look out for. We'll see. Steve Gray is asking how well have your winter forecasts in previous years verified, particularly the early ones done in October. So I think you mean the winter update, Steve. Remember, with the winter updates, we're not issuing a forecast for the winter now. So what you have to think is that each winter update is kind of like helping to build up a picture, if you like. So when we begin the winter updates, we're more or less starting off with a blank canvas, if you like. We're going to create a picture, but we're starting off with a clean sheet. We're starting off with a white page, and each week we start to add a little bit more in. So each week we will add a little bit more to the palette, and we'll add some colours, and we'll add more and more things in each week with the winter updates, and very gradually a pattern, a picture should begin to emerge. So like this 7th winter update that was released today, but it's not a winter forecast in its own term. It's purely just purely adding an extra element, if you like, to the forecast. Another way of looking at it would be like baking a cake. So if you think that when you bake a cake, you've got to get the flour together, you've got to get the eggs together, you've got to get the sugar together, you've got to get the butter together, and you mix it all together, and then you put it in the oven, and you, if it all works out okay, if you don't burn your cake, then you will take the cake out of the oven, and you'll have this beautiful looking cake that you've made. And all of those individual ingredients are important into creating that cake, into making it. So the forecast for this winter, 2019-2020, will be released on the 1st of December, and each of these individual winter updates are helping to build up the picture that will eventually be the forecast when we release it. So I think there's a bit of misunderstanding that we're like doing a forecast for winter every week, which isn't the case. What we're doing is updates every week, adding more and more elements into the mix that will eventually form our forecast. Jack Lowe is saying, "Hi Gav, I prefer a cold winter, but my winters can be interesting too. I'll be in the west of Ireland this winter, and we'll be keeping a close eye on any developing Atlantic storms. Can't wait." Well, Jack, yeah, you're going to be in the firing line if we do get that sort of 2013-14 type stormy winter, zonal winter, then you'll be well and truly in the firing line for those areas of low pressure there in the west of Ireland. So, of course, we'll see about that. Barry Wilkinson, "Hi Gav, great update as usual. When you're doing the comparisons of SST and snow cover, can you maybe do a split screen rather than flicking between, so you can see what you are, so you can see what you're comparing a bit easier?" That's interesting feedback, Barry. So I'll have to see if we can get something together there. So it takes me a long time to get these winter updates set up. So I'm not sure whether that would add, whether that would add even more time to the process. I started today's winter update. Started getting it together at 7 o'clock in the evening, yesterday evening. I recorded at 10. It takes me around 2 to 3 hours to get all of the charts and websites and logs all loaded up. So it's around 10 o'clock to start recording it. Then I'm going to process it. So start processing around just after 11 o'clock. I finally get to upload it to YouTube. It finishes processing around 1 to 1:30 in the morning. Then I've got to upload it to YouTube. So it's around 2 o'clock this morning when I was finally finished recording, processing, and uploading. I was able to go to bed. So it was quite a late night for me. But I'm happy to do it. As long as everybody is enjoying it, then I'm more than happy to... do winter updates, but it does create a very long Saturday evening. So if it added any more time, I think probably no, I wouldn't do that actually. But it's just whether it's something that I could do without adding a great deal more to the time. So we're coming to the end of the live stream now. We've got 86 people still with us, so thank you so much for sticking with us for this live stream on this Sunday afternoon. That's really, really kind of you all to tune in. We've got one or two more that I can answer just in the next couple of minutes. So Epic OP is with us saying hi, Gav. So hi, Epic. Thank you so much for tuning in. This evening, we're at the end of the live stream now, really, but thank you so much for being with us. We have got also Nathalie asking any indication of a few crisp, sunny autumn days before we hit winter. So at the moment, it just looks very unsettled, Nathalie. It looks like the next week, 10 days, going to be very unsettled with more rain to come. After that, possibly going into something a little bit drier for the final week of the month, but I'm not sure it's going to be all that cold actually. It may actually be quite warm when we get through to the end of the month. There's no sign of anything particularly cold, frosty, those kind of conditions. No, there's not really a great deal of sign of that at the moment, but we shall keep looking. Photo Hunter, yes Gav, cheers for the dedication, love from Yorkshire. Well, thank you so much, Photo, for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. I hope you enjoyed the live stream, and I hope you enjoyed the 7th winter 2019-2020 update. So I think that's pretty much it. So if anybody's question or comment got left out, I'm really sorry about that. I'm going through the live chat as we're doing it, and I'm trying to pick out as many updates as I can. But I'm trying to pick out any comments and questions, I should say, as I can. But some people will get missed, and if I do miss you out, then really, really sorry. But you can always ask again next week. We're going to be doing these live streams we're going to be doing these live streams every week until we release winter forecast on the 1st of December, so you can come back next week and ask some more questions. So that's it. I'm going to stop the live stream there. I'm going to get myself a little bit of tea, and then I'll get the written version of the 7th Winter 2019-2020 update written up. It's going to take me quite a while to write everything up, I have to say, but I will get that written up and put onto galservice.com around probably just after 8 o'clock this evening. So it'll take me a while to do that. But that will be put on galservice.com this evening. And then through the next few days, of course, the focus, I think in the week 10 of the updates we're going to be doing this week, I think the focus is going to be largely on the chance of some higher pressure coming along for the final part of October, perhaps. So that, I would think, will be something that we'll be focusing on in the week's 10 video updates. The 8th winter update, of course, is going to be released on Sunday next week. I'm not sure what we're doing for that one. Maybe a little bit more September data amongst all of the other things that we look at. And there will be another live stream that goes with that 8th winter update as well. Right, so we talked for an hour. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to end the live stream there, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.